Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to all of you to our debate on the role of SMEs in Europe's digital transformation. Today's debate is co-hosted by the EIF Programming Committee co-chair Ivan Stefanec, who is an MEP with the EPP group from Slovakia, and by Josianne Cutajar, MEP with the S&D group, and the youngest MEP from Malta, if I'm not mistaken. Welcome to both of you. MEP Stefanec, as a member of the Committee on the Internal Market and Consumer Protection, focuses on SMEs, employment, entrepreneurship, digital single market, and red tape reduction. And MEP Cutajar, with her work in the Committee for Industry, Research and Energy, strongly advocates for widespread digitalization throughout the European Union, leaving no one behind, including Europe's SMEs. Thank you both for taking the lead on this debate at our forum today. We are also joined by 5 experts today to discuss how SMEs can be at the heart of Europe's industrial and digital strategies. Let me warmly welcome them on stage with us. Hubert Gambs, Deputy Director General at DG GROW, European Commission. Dr. Oliver Grün, founder and CEO of Grün Software, President of the German Federal Association of IT-SMEs, and of the European Digital SME Alliance. Ruben Bonet, co-founder, President and CEO at Fractus. Fabrizio Morgera, Senior Investment Officer at the European Investment Bank. And Sjoerd Hauptmeijer, CEO and founder, The Young Digitals. Thank you all very much for joining us. As always, after listening to our speakers, there will be an exchange of views with our participants, which will take place in the Q&A session. But now, without further ado, I will leave the floor to our MEP Ivan Stefanec now, and MEP Josianne Cutajar will share her remarks before the Q&A starts. Over to you, Ivan Stefanec, and we will be giving the floor to our speakers after you.
Thank you very much, Maria Rosa, and I'd like to thank everybody for accepting our invitation. I'm sure that now in time of pandemic, all of us, we recognize how digitalization is important. And today we will talk about particularly important subject, the role of SMEs in Europe's digital transformation. And as we know, European small businesses are very important. Many of them are family-owned, and they've been heavily affected by this COVID crisis. Before the pandemic, they employed 2/3 of the European workforce, and they've created 80% of new jobs in the last 5 years. And nowadays, that's the fact that more than half of them, they face bankruptcy. SME Europe has surveyed European small businesses to find out what they need, and these are the findings. Firstly, they need quick access to finance. Secondly, they need a delay in taxes just in order to breathe better. And thirdly, they need a reduction of bureaucratic burden. As a matter of fact, we can address and significantly improve all 3 points by digitalization, by improving digital infrastructure, digital education, and public e-services. I'm really happy that the topic of digital transformation of business is addressed significantly also in 2030 digitalization strategy presented by the European Commission. There are really ambitious targets for businesses like having 75% of European business using cloud computing services, big data, and artificial intelligence, and also having more than 90% of European SMEs reaching at least basic level of digital intensity. Those are really ambitious, but I believe also reachable targets. We need to set up right management, right tools, and right monitoring to reach those targets. So altogether, I do believe that digital transformation of SMEs is really crucial for the whole European economy recovery. So I'm really looking forward to today's discussion. Thank you very much indeed. Back to you, Maria Rosa.
Thank you very much for setting the scene, Ivan. And now let's listen to the European Commission with Hubert Gambs at DG GROW.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me to this very timely event on the role of SMEs in Europe's digital transformation. Now, at the Commission a year ago, we adopted a dedicated SME strategy, and it was in a clear recognition of the importance of our SMEs. SMEs provide goods and services across all regions in the European Union. They offer jobs and livelihoods to people in our societies. And also, they are bringing innovative solutions. And they are therefore key to Europe's digital and green transitions. And they will help building up our resilience as European Union. Now, it became quickly clear that the priorities of the SME strategy, so supporting the digitalization and or access to finance, even gained more importance in the crisis that COVID caused. Steps were taken by the Commission immediately also to address these liquidity problems that was already mentioned. For example, we redirected 1 billion from the European Fund for Strategic Investments to incentivize banks to provide liquidity to businesses, to SMEs. But even beyond this short-term relief, the new SME strategy is striving to become the reference tool for support in the context of, what in the strategy 1 year ago was still a twin transition, but which has become a triple transition, making SMEs more digital, more sustainable, and resilient. We started with implementing, the over 30 actions that were announced in the strategy, and by providing sustainability advice, reinforcing digital capacity, supporting member states in fighting late payments. Digitalization of SMEs is therefore one of the most important and most crucial policy objectives. And I would like to give you a few examples how we try to support the digitalization of SMEs. The access points for many SMEs to digitalize, also for more traditional SMEs, will be the local European Digital Innovation Hub, because these hubs know the local context, these hubs speak the same language. And they are in a situation, are expected to provide advice and to build up capacities to make the transition happen for SMEs. They can lead, individual companies to a very specialized testing and experimentation facility, which might in some cases be necessary. The Commission is also putting in place a digital volunteers program through which digital experts can share the knowledge with SME employees. And there is, for example, cooperation between experts in large companies that get together with people in SMEs and help them in a kind of a technological transfer, tech transfer in the digital fields. The EU Startup Nation Standard will share and adopt best policy practices for the growth of European startups in each stage of their development. And it was also mentioned, we also have to work on the digitalization of public services, because also the crisis has shown how important it is that public services remain accessible for companies, for citizens, but in particular also for SMEs. And the launch of the Single Digital Gateway, which is based on our Your Euro portal in last December, was therefore also a step to provide SMEs with a single and easy access points for information about the single market rights, for advice from assistance services to help solve problems, but also in the second step that will come to have electronic procedure available. And so really make the digitalization of public services happen, and also reduce in this way administrative burdens. Of course, when looking at the future recovery that we are all working for, we must also talk about the EU's recovery plan, our long-term budget, but in particular, of course, the Next Generation EU program with the resilience and recovery and resilience facility, which is actually the largest stimulus package ever financed through the EU budget. And we, of course, pushing member states very hard to strongly target also SMEs in their national reform plans and use these funds to address the priorities of SMEs. And we also count there, for example, on the SME Envoy network in helping us. But we also count, of course, in the stakeholders and also in the members of the European Parliament to push member states to set the right priorities. Currently we have received many of the proposed national recovery plans, and we're looking very closely to ensure that SME needs are also well considered in these plans. Mr. Stefanec mentioned already the digital decade communication, which sets out ambitious targets for businesses, including SMEs, to become more digital by 2030. And the successful transformation of businesses will depend very much on their ability to adopt new digital technologies rapidly. Also here we want to support, there are possibilities under the Single Market Program, Horizon Europe, the Digital Europe Program, and the Cohesion Programs, in combination with the Resilience and Recovery Funds, to help, deploy and use general digital capacities where businesses to include industrial data spaces, high performance computing power, and also artificial intelligence. Also SMEs, have a lot to contribute in this area. And we will also look to find specific support looking at the individual industrial ecosystems and to look at the needs in a specific ecosystems, how we can help there. For example, also through the Horizon Europe partnership. So the strategy, the SME strategy, will remain our compass for the SME policy, all in the field of digitalization. But it's very clear the SMEs need our support here. We need to apply the strategy flexible, and it is adaptable to help them really to change the situation of SMEs on the ground. Also, we'll look at it when we look at the update of the industrial strategy, which is scheduled for later in this month to be adopted by the Commission. So when we look at SMEs facing these unprecedented challenges today, I count very much on all of us, on the stakeholders, on the political decision makers, to act together to face the challenges together and to help SMEs to achieve what we want to, a swift recovery from the crisis, with SMEs at the heart of the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for presenting the SME strategy and some of the opportunities and tools to help SMEs, which are indeed, as you said, and as even Stefanec said in his opening, facing unprecedented challenges. Let's now hear from Dr. Oliver Grün, who represents the views of SMEs.
Yes, hello, thank you very much. Yes, I would like to speak, let's say, in two roles. First of all, I'm president of the European Digital SME Alliance, as you have mentioned, but I'm also entrepreneur. So let's say a real small and medium enterprise entrepreneur. We have around 200 employees and we are a software company. And so I think it's very important if we look to the role of SMEs in the digitalization. I think it's very important to divide, or I want to stimulate to divide this topic also into two parts of the SMEs. In one part of the users and one part of the enablers of digitalization. This means the user are the general SMEs of all branches and all industries. They use digitalization to become more digital and as Hubert Gambs said, also more resilient at the end. But on the other hand, we have the market side of the enablers, the second side, and the enablers, they are the digital SMEs, and this means this is what I'm representing with the European Digital SME Alliance. We really support the most jobs in the digital economy in Europe. Nobody knows, it's not Google, it's not Facebook. It is the digital SME companies. Thirdly, I think it's very important to understand that digitalization is a process of two steps. The first steps, we call it also a short-term step. This is the optimization. We do this since 40 years. We have new software solutions, enterprise resource planning software, or a lot of optimization. We call it optimization of processes which are there. But I think the very important step is the second step. And the second step is a digital transformation. And this means, in our definition, a long-term partnership. And this means really to invent new digital business models. And I think there is a problem. We always talk about the boost of digitalization because of COVID. and we forget very often that the boost is only in the first part, in the optimization. So that's kind of collaboration tools or communication tools. In these areas, we get a boost of digitalization, but we know from our studies that a lot of really future projects, digital future projects to invent new digital business models are postponed because of COVID. So we must see this also differently, I think. And I think it's very important to see that we must hold the digital sovereignty in Europe. And so we welcome the targets of the European Commission fully. But to hold the digital sovereignty in the B2B sector, so the B2C, the business to consumer sector, is lost. We all know this. But the business to business consumer is the backbone of our wealth. And this is SMEs. And to hold this digital sovereignty in this area, I think we must really use the technology made in Europe and not only use technology made in the US. Of course, I think StreamYard we are using now is also from the US, and Zoom is from the US, and Microsoft Teams. But we have a lot of tools also from digital SME companies which really work. And so I think it's very important to understand that digital sovereignty means to shape the digital future and not only to use digital tech. So I absolutely agree with Hubert Gambs to say that we must impact that SMEs adopt new digital technology rapidly, but I want to add that it might be good if it is European-made technology. On the fourth point, I want to mention, of course, that the digital SMEs, so the enabler side of the market of SMEs, we are not. You are very often talking, not you, but all the people are very often talking that the SMEs are a kind of a victim of the digitalization. I think when we are offering new digital technology, we are really in the driver's seat, and we can be a pacemaker as digital SME companies, as provider of technology to digitalize the whole SMEs, because there is a long-term partnership on eye level from our companies, from all the digital SME companies to the SME companies at all. Well, of course, and we welcome the 4 targets of the digital decade about skills, about infrastructure, about government, and of course also about business. This is mostly for us. Of course, Hubert Gambs mentioned this, but I want to stress, of course, that we really need a focus on SMEs and not only, let's say, a kind of lip service. We have a lot of lip services in the past for SMEs because we are all used that all the SMEs are working. But I think this will change in the next 10 years if we don't change things. And last but not least, I just want to say I love the targets, but I would love them a little bit more if they are more ambitious. They are ambitious, but they are 2030. This is 9 years ago. And for instance, if we want to have the EU unicorns, we want to double the number of EU unicorns in 2030. Yeah, now we have about 50 to 60, and the US has, in the whole Europe, and the US has nearly 250. So if we double them until 2030, then we are still less than half they have now. I don't want to know how much they will have in 2030. So I want to have more nearer goals and targets. That would be very great. And we as a European Digital SME Alliance, we are open as a discussion and a constructive project partner. And so I'm also looking forward to this discussion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for bringing in an interesting perspective as an entrepreneur, but also as a representative of digital SMEs, and for reminding us that not only the COVID pandemic has boosted optimization of existing processes, but also somehow slowed down the innovation of new digital projects. Let's now hear from another entrepreneurial example with Ruben Bonet at Fractus.
Hello. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to address this very important issue from the SME and startup and also scale-up perspective. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Ruben Bonet. I am from Barcelona. I am the co-founder and CEO of Fractus, a small SME. My company started in 1999 as a technology developer for the telecom industry in the antenna field. From the typical startup beginning, two entrepreneurs in a garage, we obtained on the early days 20 million euros from venture capitalists, and we heavily then invested in R&D. After some time, it was clear that our technology was dominant between the implementers ecosystem, and then we decided to license rather than selling the products or services, to license. It was not easy to do it because most of the implementers adopted efficient infringement strategies, what is called the patent holdout. Fractus was close to bankruptcy, but thanks to the intellectual property international system, particularly in the US, Fractus finally was able to successfully license our technology and continue investing in R&D. So, to make the connection with today's subject, I believe that today there is a high degree of consensus regarding the relevance of an economy based on intangibles, also for SMEs. Also, the relevance of the IP for global competition and SMEs, startups, and scale-ups to further foster European innovation and competitiveness at the global scale. Europe clearly needs more SMEs and more scale-ups that can efficiently compete in the international marketplace. Eventually, those innovative SMEs that today are small can become, in the future, big corporations like Apple or Google that can create high-quality employment in the near future. So we need to support those SMEs as well. And in this respect, the IPs, intellectual properties, are essential tools for innovative SMEs. IP enable the SMEs to protect their competitive advantage in the marketplace. However, we know that IP enforcement is a challenge for SMEs, which do not always have resources and capabilities to enforce the patents. So from the SME perspective, a strong innovative SME perspective, a strong patent system will support innovation and R&D investment. Private funds will continue investing in innovative SMEs and technologies, provided that IP protection is strong. So we can have those Apple and Google European SMEs in the near future. So thanks for listening. I'm happy to answer any question on the Q&A. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Ruben, for sharing the story of Fractus, very interesting, and for reminding us all of the importance of IP and patenting for SMEs. Let's now bring in Fabrizio Morgera with the European Investment Bank.
Hi, Rosa. Thanks for the invitation. Yes, I'm a senior investment officer in EIB, and I want to share my presentation so I can introduce what EIB is basically doing in the SME sector. Basically, EIB has an equity strategy since 2015 when the FC, the Juncker plan, was approved, and we started to finance small and medium enterprises with this venture debt tool The venture debt is called as a debt, but in reality is a quasi-equity. We give money today, and we ask back the money in 5 years, 7 years. So basically, it's suited for also pre-revenue companies, so really startups with growth potential, and even if they are not at the break-even. So we believe in these companies as a normal venture capital. Of course, we come after the venture capital, so we need that these SMEs have at least a Series A or a Series B already in place, which means that we finance company from 7.5 million ticket to 50, but they have to have raised already something like at least 10-15 million capital. We believe that only in the innovation-driven SMEs, so basically deep tech SMEs, we finance. We deploy as of today 3.1 billion euro in Europe. Out of 3 billion, let's say around 1 billion in digitech and ICT companies. So we really support the digital transformation of Europe, especially driven by SMEs. So the three main players in our product are SMEs, founders, and investors. So the SMEs usually is the borrower. We give money to the SMEs, but we invest alongside founders and investors. So it's very important because we need to create also a corporate culture in the SMEs, and this is the key differentiating factor, especially between Europe and USA. And afterwards, I will show you the figures that also Oliver and Ruben, let's say, claimed before, because we don't have so many unicorns and, let's say, competition at international level. This is more or less the universe we finance. Of course, I can share this presentation after the event. We finance 3 billion, almost 120 companies. As you see, we supported a lot of the life science, but also the ICT, information and communication technology sector, and also the industry 4.0. This is the last slide I want to show. Basically, this is the big gap between the Europe and the USA. As you see, in terms of this is the number of the dollars and euro deployed in growth equity deals, and you see that the difference between USA and Europe is dramatic. So it's even if there is a big effort in Europe, because we passed from 5.5 billion euro in 2008 to 32 in 2019. The USA passed from 33 to 121, and the ratio is still very high, is more or less 5-6 times. And this is the reason why Oliver said before that we don't have so many unicorns, because basically we are not able to deploy enough money into the system in order to enhance the SMEs to grow and to have an international competition. This is the last slide I was commenting. Basically, this is the big gap that there is between Europe and USA. The gap is dramatic because we still have 5 times the ratio between the capital deployed for SMEs in growth equity deals. And so basically, these are the money. This is the money deployed to the SMEs. Of course, in this money, you can see life science startups, ICT startups, and other sectors. But however, also in the digital SMEs, we have the same issue. So if we have the same trajectory, maybe in 10 years we will reach the same level of USA today, hoping that the USA will be stable in the next few years. But of course, the gap is important, and we need to further push, to further put our efforts to finance the SMEs, especially in the digital sector. So this is the contribution of EIB at the moment on the SME market. We are thinking to deploy further products. For example, we are trying to develop a co-investment platform with other CVC, corporate venture capital. We have already started to deploy a co-investment platform with other venture debt funds, also with other funds. We have the EIF, European Investment Fund, which is putting his effort to further develop the VC industry, because if on one hand we need to deploy technology, but on the other hand we need to deploy money to finance the new entrepreneurs that want to deploy, that want to develop technology.
Thank you very much, Fabrizio, for sharing the various activities and opportunities that the European Investment Bank is working on for SMEs. And I'm sure it will be very interesting for our participants to receive the slides, so we will provide them to those who want to receive them. And now let's give the floor to Sjoerd Hauptmeijer with the Young Digitals.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share the story of the Young Digitals. My name is Sjoerd Hauptmeijer, and I'm a founder of this social enterprise. The Young Digitals, we support Europe's digital transformation by unlocking the potential of young people with a distance to the labor market. I want to share with you our learnings and maybe share insights that can be used for the roadmap of Europe's digital transformation. 2 years ago, I co-founded this social enterprise, and before that, I worked as a marketeer for many years for different companies. I was 42, and I don't want to say I was in a midlife crisis, but I found that maximizing shareholder value was no longer my life's mission. So together with my business partner, I started the Young Digitals, and our mission is to kickstart the career of young people without a diploma. And with that, we want to contribute to the advancement of digital skills of employees here in Europe and provide access to talent to SMEs. First, there are large groups of young people who face a difficult start in their lives. They face social, psychological, and financial challenges. And due to these problems, these young people drop out of the current education system. And without a diploma, it's very difficult for them to start successfully a career. At the same time, these young people are digital natives. They spend much time online and on social media. They enjoy it and they're good at it. So it's the mission of the Young Digitals to kickstart their career as digital marketeers. The Young Digitals has developed an 18-month program focusing on young people in the age group 18 to 27. And we strengthen their digital skills by providing valuable work experience. These young people come to work in our company, and under the guidance of our experienced professionals, they work on digital marketing projects for companies and organizations. This work experience is so important, it's their ticket to a future career. We have learned that many young people who have dropped out of the current education system benefit from our hands-on program. And these past 2 years, we have supported 90 young people with the start of their career. We also learned that it's essential for their development that we support them with digital marketing knowledge, but also provide personal development support. For instance, we work together with specialized organizations that offer financial relief to young people with financial problems. We are amazed by the steep learning curves of our Young Digitals, and with our program, we narrow the gap to the labor market and help to create a more inclusive economy. With our initiative, we train the future employees of SMEs. We see that for many SMEs, it's a huge challenge to recruit digital skilled employees. There's much competition among companies to attract digital talent. It is our aim to unlock the potential of a large group of young people without a diploma. And these Young Digitals can play an important role in a digital transformation of SMEs. We are delighted that many corporates support our mission and are open up to these young people without a diploma. For instance, we work together very successfully with the Vodafone company. These past 2 years was our startup phase, and we want to scale up and make more impact. And in the next 3 years, we want to support 1,000 young people. To realize this ambition, it would be great if more companies will follow the lead of Vodafone and offer a chance to these young people without a diploma and give them a chance to become digital heroes. Thank you very much.
What a remarkable initiative, Sjoerd. Thank you very much for sharing your experience as a start-upper, I would say, and also for bringing into the picture the importance of digital skills and education, indeed, for the youngsters. We'll learn, I think, more about it in the Q&A session. And now let me give the floor to our hosting MEP, Josianne Cutajar.
Thank you very much, Maria Rosa, and thank you also to all the panelists for sharing with us their comments, views, and experiences. As well, I thank the EIF for making this possible today, as well as my co-host also, Ivan Stefanec, for his introductory remark also. So I wanted to give a few concluding insights before going on to the Q&A, and we have indeed listened to different complementary perspectives on how to make Europe fit for the digital decade. I do welcome the approach of the European Commission of setting quantitative targets that we can monitor, something which also gives a sense of urgency to grasp the opportunities the digital transition offers. The proposed digital compass will make it easier to follow up in the areas requiring further improvement. Skills, connectivity, digital transformation of our businesses, modernizing the public sector. Achieving progress in all these policy areas is quite challenging and will be challenging. However, it's an opportunity in itself. I would like also to focus a bit on how we can make these goals operational. Indeed, the Recovery and Resilience Facility is going to spur member states to heal the wounds of the pandemic with a focus on the digital transition. The minimum level of 20% of resources to earmark to technological-related priorities will surely help many of our SMEs to go digital and will contribute to the digital skills of citizens and businesses, something which this panel also emphasized upon. While the investment to digitalize SMEs is crucial, it would not be truly effective if we don't update our approach. Collaboration is key. And earlier on, one of the panelists also said and emphasized the importance of collaboration in this respect. I envisage also that a digital transition will be one for SMEs that is enabled by SMEs themselves. And indeed, there are SMEs who have already digitalized, who have found good models which could help other SMEs to do so also. Let me be clear on this. Large tech players will have an important role in the digitalization of the economy. However, I believe that when it comes to small and medium businesses, it is crucial to keep thinking small first. Many SMEs are active in the digital sector and are technology providers already. We should look at them to help other small, less innovative small firms match their needs with the appropriate digital solution. Local economic ecosystems at the center of the digital transition. This is another important point I wanted to bring up. I believe that such a process should start from the bottom up in order to respond to the needs of the local economic ecosystems. Intermediaries such as chambers of commerce, SME associations, education and research institutions, but also professionals, including accountants, for example, can play a pivotal role in enabling this process. Their activity is grounded in the economic fabric locally, and they could contribute to addressing the digital gap of traditional small firms by identifying any digital skill mismatch and linking frontrunners and businesses that have not yet innovated. In other words, we need to bring on board also the small craftsman or the small restaurant around the corner that still rely on paper-based solutions. This is the reason why I also welcome the upcoming European Digital Innovation Hubs as a tool through which local institutions, traditional firms, and SMEs providing digital solutions can enhance the technological network amongst also this important leap we need to make, this technological transition. It is essential to reduce the information and knowledge gap which our SMEs still face. And this is very important. They still face this gap when it comes to the opportunities which exist, including when it comes to the digital transition. The strong link between digitalization and local ecosystems will also result in positive externalities for the territorial cohesion of the Union and contribute to the goals of the Green Deal. I am thinking, for instance, about the potential of rural areas that could be fully unleashed through the transformative power of technology in the agricultural sector, or through the new paradigms enabling the so-called smart villages. Tourism and hospitality is surely another sector which we must not overlook. Enterprises operating in this sector are mainly traditional, yet they could enormously benefit from tools such as data analytics to define their competitive positioning and their marketing strategy, or more generally to inform their decision-making process. The digital transformation of businesses requires time and resources. This is the reason why we should enable a real change, steering the efforts and our focus to the long-term horizon also. It's true that the pandemic keeps us a bit hooked in the short-term recovery, but this does not mean that we should lose sight of the longer focus. I welcome that the Commission intends to propose the digital compass in the form of a digital policy programme to be adopted by co-decision of European Parliament and Council, setting the focus on delivery and constant commitment towards the common digital goals. As members of Parliament, we will be committed and will stay committed to make sure that the digital transition will be truly transformational, long-lasting, outcome-oriented, and beneficial for all micro, small, and medium firms. I look forward also to hearing further from our panel in the Q&A session, and I thank you for this opportunity.